pretty happy it's the weekend too,
Yeah.
because the week sucks.
Yes.
Um, so what are you most nervous about?
The role playing, cause I'm scared of role
You're
playing.
scared of role playing?
I don't know.
Okay,
I
well,
feel like my own personality clashes with role playing, and I'm embarrassed to do it, kind of, I guess.
oh yeah, it's difficult
Yeah.
when you're playing a character, especially with like multiple personality disorder almost.
Yeah.
Um, just like I try to take into account like my skills that I've chosen and
Mm,
stuff. So like, remember that you have a 7 intimidation and
yeah.
you're kind of a bully. But I went a little overboard last night, kind of writing up a little beginning for you for this game, so you wouldn't feel like, you're totally um, just kind of lost. So it's kind
Wow.
it's kind of a little story of how you got to where you are now. So
Uh-huh.
just be patient with me here because it's a little long.
Sure.
um, but it starts kind of at the beginning. So after the encounter with your brother, you did not feel safe returning to the city. You woke up near a sheer ice cliff in a pool of your own blood. Your brother's last words ringing in your ears. A new age is coming, dear sister, and you don't belong in it. You have fallen out of favor with our father, and he has cast you out. You are no longer one of his children. As you lie in the pool of your own blood, the only thing bringing you any warmth, a single tear rolls down your cheek, freezing just before it touches your lips, and darkness takes you. You come in and out of a feverish sleep. Your vision is blurry. You see the face of a large furry creature look down on you. He bares his teeth, but it seems warm and friendly, like he's smiling. Rest, little one, rest. You hear his deep but musical voice vibrate out from deep within him. You feel flakes of snow falling on your exposed cheeks. You are being carried, and exhaustion takes you once again. You hear the crackling of a blazing fire. You feel its warmth. You open your eyes in a dark but cozy looking room, shadows dancing off the walls. You notice one in particular. It's moving, dancing with the flames. You hear a seductive voice in your mind, like a slow molasses pouring into your ears. Terrible what they've done to you, child. Unforgivable, even. I can feel the vengeance in your heart. Do not question it, for it is just. We will make them pay. Together. Sleep takes you once again, but not before you notice a blade resting at the end of your bed, long and opaque. It shimmers in the firelight like an opal. You sink into Thumper's shaggy white fur and say one last goodbye to the bear you have come to know. He hugs you tightly and says only, "Be well." You pull your thick wolfskin cloak tightly around you and step through the gates of Barristan into a snowy pinewood forest. As the gates close behind you, you let out a deep breath. It took all you had not to run your blade through your burly friend. You just ate but an hour ago, but you feel a deep pit of hunger deep in your belly. Not for food, but for souls. You look down at your shadow, and even though it doesn't show, you know it's grinning. You know she's grinning. And now it's Ava's turn to feed. You traveled through the north for a time, moving from town to town, helping people when you have a hold of yourself, and killing them when Ava hungers. You feel your power grow, and with every soul you take, and after a time, you begin to hunger as well. She coaxes you forth through your doubts with her sweet words and promises of vengeance. You are deep in the spine of the world, traveling with a band of hunters. You have been tracking some members of an Uthgard tribe clan, the Howling Wolves, for a few days. They butchered some innocent fishermen out on one of the tundras, and it's easier for you to kill the violent and guilty, though by now you have slain your own fair share of innocent lives. A heavy blizzard strikes high in the peaks of the spine, and you and your party have to take shelter in a cave. It's been weeks, Eve. I hunger. The familiar voice of Ava rings between your ears. Instinctively, you begin to reach for your blade. You feel a familiar deep void within you as the light of the small fire in the cave flickers off its walls. You see Ava's shadow dancing around the forms of the men you have been traveling with. You know the shadow is smiling with joy of the meal to come, and as the flames of the fire darken, your vision goes black. The head of the last man lies at your feet, his open, empty eyes staring up at yours, blood pooling from his neck around your feet. Your shadow is still, but you still feel the void of hunger deep within you. Something is wrong, child. I was not able to feed. Either these men had no souls, or something very dark is coming. There is silence for a time as you sit by the fading flames of the fire. We must go south, Ava says in your mind before you drift off to sleep. Your journey south to the lands of Cholt was a painful one. Without souls, Ava's hunger and temper continued to grow. She became more present in your mind, pushing you to search for answers on the way, forcing you to kill occasionally just to see if she could feed. You learned that far to the south the darkness was growing. Mages, scholars, adventurers, all flocking to an isle called Cholt in great numbers. It appears this problem affecting Ava's ability to feed on souls was affecting the entirety of Faerun, so onward you continued to travel to the tropical isle, a civilization lost to time. You learned that deep in the jungles, a device people started to call the Soulmonger was making it impossible for souls to travel to the afterlife. The Soulmonger essentially acting as a vacuum, a battery feeding a growing evil. Ava told you the darkness on the Isles of Cholt was great. As your ship approached the Bay of Cholt into Port Nyanzaru, she said that the entire isle was consumed in necrotic magics. She told you that she knew only one being that could possibly be capable of such dark and powerful things. The traveler of worlds, the denier of gods, the meddler of the multiverse, the most ancient lich, a Sarak. And for the first time since she's been with you, Ava sounded afraid. So that's how you got to Cholt.
That was awesome. Thank you. That's so cool.
When you arrived there, you spent a little bit of time in the city. This is now just me talking. I'm done with what I wrote up. So, when you arrived there, you spent some time in the city, and I'll put over the map of the city so you can just see it. So when you arrived in the harbor ward in Port Nyanzaru, the first thing you would have probably noticed is near the docks there's a small building, basically a message board of sorts, and there are locals and other people that are basically offering their services as jungle guides. Now that all these new people are coming to Cholt, there are people trying to capitalize on the profits of claiming to know the islands well enough to be able to guide people through them safely. And spending some time in the city, you came across a few of these guides, and you ended up hiring one, an albino dwarf by the name of Hugh Hackenstone, and you managed to gather a few, basically bully a few other people into joining your party with you, and you guys made your way out into the jungles. You actually took a ship. Hugh commissioned a small sailing vessel because he convinced you that around the farthest side of the island, and I'll move you over to the map of Cholt, so now you can see the whole island as a whole.
Ooh.
And this is kind of a lot of the map has been uncovered. So when the module begins, there's a lot more of the hexes that are covering the map, but this is basically, I'd say, the rest of the party has probably uncovered at least 60% of it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Up here at the top, where the kind of like brown lines are drawn in,
Mhm.
is kind of where the undead has now started spilling out even farther into the jungles. You can kind of see all through this middle region of the map here
Mhm.
how it's a little brownish
Yeah.
and darker, and then there's little pockets of even darker. Those are like
Yeah.
where the undead have kind of risen and are traveling in the jungles. And there was some shit that went down up here near the top, and it's caused the undead to kind of spill out off onto the other side of the river, and
Mhm.
now they're kind of taking over that top portion of the island as well. But you and Hugh and the rest of the people that you had hired to come with you, you guys sailed to the far side of the island down here um, in the Shilku Bay,
Mhm.
um, and Hugh took you to a place called the Wormheart Mine, and there was a small wormling in there, and it turns out that Hugh was basically lying to you, and he wanted to go there to avenge some of his clansmen who were killed by the wormling in those mines. And after you guys slayed that young dragon, um, uh, you had a very strong urge to kill Hugh and the rest of your party. But when you came out, um, when you came out of the mines about a day and a half later, the ship that you had hired to bring you guys down here was gone. Um, and so you figured that it was against your better judgment to kill them all off and be stuck out here all the way on the far side of the island on your own. So you kept them alive, and you guys wandered through these peaks here,
Mhm.
um, through the where the Valley of Lost Honor is, and by pure chance, basically, you guys stumbled upon Omu right away.
Mhm.
Um, and you guys made your way into the city. I have so many maps now. I just I have like 40 hours of this game now posted to YouTube. Um, you guys made your way into Omu, and
I assume we entered from the bottom.
yeah, from the bottom
Okay.
down 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 here, and in that first building there is where you saw
Mhm.
those things scribbled on the walls. Um, you know the stuff like the graffiti with like "Fear the Fangs of Rosny," and I've been in search for the Nine Shrines and all that stuff. Um, and even though Hugh lied to you, he ended up being a fairly capable traveler and survivalist. And you guys discovered pretty quickly that there was, even though this big ruined city that's kind of tucked away in the jungles
Mhm.
seems pretty difficult to find, and at first glance you wouldn't think that anything would be um, inhabiting it. You learned pretty quickly that that was far from the case, and there were there was plenty of life happening in Omu, and um, kind of sneaking around. You have a fairly adept little scout in your party, and she um, kind of made her way up and around the city, and she basically discovered that there's a large group of snake-like man man
Mhm.
man snake hybrid creatures that are coming and going from um, a place up near the northwestern or northeastern part of the city, um, and you guys stumbled upon a few of these shrines as well, but you couldn't quite figure out the the puzzle. Here near the gates of the city in this big compound, there was a group of red wizards of Thay that were camping there. And you guys decided it was probably best to avoid them, even though Ava wanted to kill them all really badly. But they were a pretty big camp. There was about 30 camp of like 30 humans or so, and you weren't sure that Eva, or you weren't sure that Hugh and the others would be up for that either. And so basically, but one night you discovered that there are at this point there are lots of adventurers on Chult, and some of them are discovering Omu as well. And so one of the nights you were here, you saw a party of adventurers. You were camped near one of the shrines, and you saw a party of adventurers come in, and they never came out of the shrine. And a few hours after they went in, you saw a little band of kobolds enter the shrine and bring out all the bodies, and it looked like they were almost resetting the shrine's traps. And then they kind of disappeared back into the city. As you guys kind of made your way deeper in, you crossed a long tree. A big tree had fallen basically across the most narrowest part of the river, and you guys were able to cross that one night. But before you could get all the way across, an older looking tabaxi kind of attacked you guys from the rooftops of the city. He was kind of jumping from roof to roof, firing arrows at you. And you guys tried to catch him, but he managed to get away. And then you made your way through this boulevard here into the ruins of what you can only imagine was the royal palace when the city was in its full former glory. That's where you guys have been camping ever since. And so you sit currently in one of these ruined buildings around a small campfire. You've managed to find one that has a lot of cover, but you've realized pretty quickly that somewhere nearby is probably the entrance to the lair of all these Yuan-ti snake men, because they come and go from here quite a bit. But you managed to you're traveling with Hugh. You have a tabaxi bard with you guys that's managed to do a lot of concealing for you guys with his magical song, and then you have a female kind of elven scout and a Choltean native warrior. And those are the people that you've been traveling with for most of the time that you've been here on Chult. But you've probably been here for a few weeks now, and since you've left the north, basically, you haven't killed anyone, and anyone. You've killed some undead in the jungles, and you've killed a few. Once you reached Omu, you had a few small battles with a couple of the Yuan-ti and some of the kobolds as well. But at this point, your sword is having a very difficult time recharging. It's basically only got like two souls left in it, and you can tell that when you kill stuff, it gets a little bit back, but it basically gets like a fourth of what a soul would be. So you basically have to kill 4 people, and it's basically just like drinking their life, like their blood, like their life essence almost. So like where you would kill one person before and you'd get a whole soul, now you need to kill 4 people to get the same effect. And so Ava's basically starving and relentlessly, in your mind, trying to
Mm-hmm.
trying to convince you to kill something, and this is probably the first quiet night that you've had in a while. Um, quiet in the sense that you've stopped and had a full night and day's rest almost, but now just the waiting and sitting before Hugh decides what your guys' next move is almost to the point of being unbearable, and so I need you to make a charisma saving throw for me.
Yes.
So as you're sitting here, um, in Schult, it's very warm even at night,
Mm-hmm.
so it's probably about um, it's probably about 32 degrees Celsius.
Did you have to convert that?
I did, yeah. And the sky is very dark, especially over Omu here. You can kind of see, off in the distance, the clouds grow a little bit lighter, but here above Omu itself, the rain clouds above are almost like the darkest, deepest gray that you can get, and they're kind of rumbling. It seems that almost at any moment the sky could almost fall from where it is, and you'd just be blackness, and everything would die. That's how dark these clouds are, and um, it begins to pour down a heavy rain that basically puts out the campfire that you guys have made, and without even thinking, your vision kind of swims, and you draw your two-handed sword, and you roll some initiative for me.
Oh boy. Oh wait, I have to select my token. Sorry. It's been some time.
Yeah, for sure, it has. It's been a long time. But I'll say that your party members don't expect this coming, so you have a surprise round.
Okay.
But basically, Ava has taken over and is
Mm-hmm.
driving you to kill your four companions that you've been traveling with now.
Okay. Mm.
In the most brutal and vicious way possible.
Okay. Okay. The elf is a ranger, right?
Yeah, and
Or
currently,
scout.
the elf is kind of arranged. She's got a bow. She has a little short sword as well.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, right now, the Hugh's kind of asleep,
Mm-hmm.
and so is the scout and the warrior. They've all kind of got little bedrolls out, and they've laid down by the fire. And the only one up right now with you is the Tabaxi minstrel, who's kind of replacing a few of the strings on his lute. So he's kind of undone. He's kind of clipped a few of the strings away and undone the little pieces of wire at the top. And he's pulled out some new wire, and he's trying to restring one of his instruments. And kind of out of the corner of his eye, he looks up at you just as you're kind of drawing your blade, and he's sitting on the log, and
Okay. Can I cast Hold Person on him?
sure.
Does it need? Yeah.
What's your DC?
15.
Okay.
Okay. Um,
You see for a moment he almost drops his lute, and his eyes kind of go, You know, he's got these big cat eyes, and
Mm-hmm.
in the darkness over the through the little tendrils of smoke that are now coming up from the little campfire from between you guys. You see his eyes kind of go wide in the
Oh,
darkness.
yeah. I guess
But
I just. Okay, sorry.
so for a surprise round, like that would be your
Yeah. Okay.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he seeing that he doesn't really have anything nearby, and he's unstringed his lute. Basically, you see he drops his lute, kind of tumbles out of his lap, and he stands up, and you see kind of these long, sharp claws retract out of the tips of his fingers, and he lunges at you. Um, kicks Hugh in the ribs, and lunges at you with his claws.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes 2 swipes at you, but I think both of those miss.
Yeah, both of those miss.
One of them kind of catches in one of the inlays of your armor where a gem sits, and you like see the finger, you see his claw kind of snap and break off as he claws at your armor. See if the scout wakes up. So she doesn't. She seems to be like heavily snoring, and now you're up for your full turn.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll whack the minstrel with the soul drinker.
Okay.
Just a hit.
26 is a hit. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of tear. Your blade kind of just tears through his leathers like butter, and you open a giant gash down the front of his chest, and he kind of lets out a weak meowing sound, as his blood begins to just pump out from his chest,
Mm-hmm.
as your blade just carves into him. He's not quite dead yet, but he's close.
Okay.
Do you have two multi attack at level 4, or is that level 5 paladin?
That's level 5.
Level 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have like any bonus actions?
I'll have to check my spells real quick. That's an action. That's an action as well. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
So Hugh kind of grunts as he gets kicked in the ribs and looks up and sees you engaged with the tabaxi, and he reaches over for his battle axe nearby, and he stands and he kind of just rushes through the dead fire with his axe drawn, and he just says as he's charging towards you, "What's the meaning of this, Slash?" I'm gonna just move this campfire because it's in my way.
Yeah.
And he swings his axe at you. Is 19 hit?
Nope.
24?
Yes.
Take 11 slashing damage as he hammers his axe into your side.
Okay.
So that the sound of his axe clinging into your armor wakes up the tribal warrior, and he takes half his movement to stand and looks a little confused, but he picks up a spear nearby and also rushes at you, just taking after Hugh basically with 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to jam at you with his spear, but he misses. And the tabaxi's up again, and he continues to try and claw at you with his little cat claws
22 hits.
for 5 slashing.
Mm-hmm.
And now the scout groggily wakes up as well, and she fumbles for her bow. Can't quite get an arrow notched, and you're up.
I have to look at my spells real quick. Okay, cool. Everything is one action. That's exactly what I need. Do you know the necrotic shroud? Is that also an action to transform into that?
For your Asmir.
Yeah.
I can check real quick. I got my book right here. But I would believe so. You can use your action to unleash the divine energy within.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I guess I will do that.
Okay, nice. So what is that? What does that look like when you do that?
It's like the back is glowing, and then the shards of that broken stained glass come out of that. At first they are together, but then you hear that breaking glass sound, like right, slowly, yeah. Or like and then they break.
How I was gonna describe it, if you ever did it in front of the rest of the party, was that there's kind of a blinding flash of light, and momentarily the rest of their vision is blurred, and you hear like the sound of shattering glass, and as your swimming vision kind of returns, these long colorful wings are now sprouted out from behind you, and they look like broken shards of a stained glass window.
Yes, exactly.
And then that does creatures within 10 feet must succeed on a charisma save. What's your DC 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier? So.
Wait, say that again.
The instant you transform, other creatures within 10 feet of you that can see you must each succeed on a charisma saving throw. DC 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier, or become frightened of you until the end of your next turn.
Okay, 8, 11, 15.
15? Okay. The transformation lasts for 1 minute or until you end it. As a bonus action, during it once on each of your turns, you can deal extra necrotic damage to one target. When you deal damage to it with an attacker spell, the extra necrotic damage equals your level. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until... So, if you do damage to something, you do an extra 7 necrotic once per turn as well.
Yeah.
But they all make charisma saving throws first of DC 15. Pretty sure they're all... Oh, the bard might succeed. Yeah. And they become frightened of you.
Mm-hmm.
Frightened creature has disadvantage on the checks and attack rolls. Creature can't willingly move closer to the source of its fear. Cool. So Hugh takes a couple swings at you with his axe with disadvantage.
Nope.
And the warrior does with his spear, jams at you once with it in 2 hands. And the minstrel, unable to do any magic right now because his instrument is broken basically on the ground.
Yes.
Just makes a couple normal attacks at you.
Mm-hmm.
5, 10. Yeah, so the scout was in 10 feet. Yeah, so she finally manages to get an arrow out of her quiver that she had a hard time finding, and tries to shoot at you. it's just one shot, but it misses.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of zings. You can hear the wind of it kind of zing past your head, and then you're up again.
I want to try finishing off the bard.
Okay.
With Soldrinker again.
Yeah, 15 is a hit.
Okay.
And he makes a Constitution save. And you absorb a fourth of a soul into the blade.
Cool.
Hugh. Misses. As you're kind of just easily parrying off his blades, and now where Eva's kind of taken over, you can from like deep down inside, where yourself now is. Once she takes over, you can kind of hear her cackles echoing out in the night, as she's hacking to pieces the party that you've been traveling with.
Mm-hmm.
The scout starts moving towards an exit, but she still fires a shot at you. And then you're up again.
I have to check spells again, sorry.
That's okay. I'll say it's like a half a. It's not a fourth is like ridiculous. It's a half a soul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a half. Fourth it's just ridiculous.
I see the scout moving away, and I want to cast command on her. Yeah, level 1.
Wisdom throw.
Yes. And I want her to come back and stay here.
So she's under the effects of your fear, so she can't move closer to you.
Oh yeah. Wait, fuck.
But you can have her stop.
Yes.
Or
stop there.
So you kind of, she's kind of running in the other direction, and she turns and fires a shot from her bow at you, and then as she's turning back, she kind of instantly comes to a halt, and her arms just kind of fall down to her sides, and she, like, you can see her kind of tense up and lock up in fear. And Hugh swings at you a couple times with his Hugh's going to use his reckless feature, so he gains advantage on his melee attacks. So basically, he's rolling with normal attack rolls this round, but he rolls a natural 1. So as you parry his strike with your blade, you can choose to either see if you can disarm him or just drive your blade down at him and make an attack at him.
I want to make an attack.
Okay, yeah. 25 is a hit. 15.
Can I still talk while Ava is taking over?
You can try.
Okay, yeah, I just want to curse at him for basically shitting me and just killing a dragon instead of what I wanted to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Make a charisma. Well, make an intimidation check against Ava, actually.
Jesus.
So you try to kind of get control of your senses again, but you feel the hunger of Ava is too great, and she kind of suppresses you, back down inside yourself. And you can continue to hear her just laughing and singing as she hacks the party to bits. But as Hugh kind of swings his axe at you, you catch the curve of the axe with your blade, and you turn it, and then you just drive your blade down the haft of his axe straight into his abdomen, and he kind of groans in pain, and you can see blood begin to seep out from beneath his clothing and down the front of his trousers and stuff. And, the tribal warrior tries to strike at you with his spear, and the scout turns and manages to fire an arrow, but she doesn't run any farther away. 23
Oh,
hit?
that hits. Yeah.
No, she has disadvantage, so 18.
Mm.
Yeah. Because she's under the effects of your fear still. And then you're up again.
Can I wait, no, that's the spell only is for one command, right?
Command. Let me go back up and read it.
Oh yeah. Follow the command on its next turn.
So it could have ran away on its last turn, but that's alright. Yeah, but you're up again. So yeah, basically just lasts for a round, so you can do.
Yeah, okay. I just take another jab at Hugh, might as well.
Okay. So 27 is a hit. 10 slashing. And as your blade is still kind of jammed into his belly, you just give it a twist, and you see like a part of his intestines now kind of spill out and are hanging down the front of from under his breastplate. He's starting to like quickly lose color. He's like an albino, but he somehow his face gets even whiter. And he uses his recklessness again, which would just make it a 19, I believe.
No, it doesn't hit.
A 20?
Doesn't hit.
Nice. So the scout fires another arrow. 22.
That's it.
For 3 piercing, and then she runs up these little set
That's with disadvantage.
Oh no, sorry, 18. Yeah, 18. But she runs up this little set of stairs, and she's kind of scampers up the side of the wall here onto the roof, and she looks like she might try and jump over the side of the wall of the little rampart here.
Can I still see her?
Yeah, you can just see kind of like the top of her head on the rooftop. And you're up
now. Hold person on her because I don't want her to get away.
Sure.
I need them souls.
Yeah. Wisdom saving throw. 14 is a fail, right?
Yes, but you won.
you hear her bow kind of fall out of her hand and
stop right there, criminal scum.
Slide on the rooftop, and you see it fall down below onto the grounds of the little building that you're in here.
Perfect.
Hugh, what can only be the last of his energy, tries to strike at you 2 more times recklessly.
Nope.
And the warrior as well. And the scout is paralyzed. Marty, relax. And you're up again. Concentration up to 1 minute. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? You would have done on that last time you hit Hugh. You would have
Yeah.
done extra 7 necrotic damage.
Oh, yeah,
So
right.
try and remember that for me.
Yeah, okay.
And so he basically, as you twist your blade and his intestines kind of spill out onto the floor in front of you with like a slushing sound, he
Mm-hmm.
falls forward onto your blade basically, and you draw it out from him, and it's covered in his blood. And you turn and raise your hand up to the scout on the rooftops, and she just becomes paralyzed, totally in
Mm-hmm.
fear, and drops her bow, and it slides off onto the ground. And you have a full soul now.
Yeah.
And the tribal warrior tries to strike at you with his spear, and it hits the side of your armor, and the wooden haft basically snaps and breaks in half. And
Sweet.
he kind of turns it like a baseball bat almost, or he hucks down
Mm-hmm.
the bottom broken end, and he takes the pointed tip in one hand. Although he still looks like he's fucking terrified. But he doesn't really see any other options right now but to fight to the death. Um, and the scout is paralyzed in fear, and you're up again.
I'll move up here to see the scout better. And then, I want to shoot an Eldritch Blast at her.
Okay.
Or attempt. Oh, Jesus, what? That's not how it works.
Yeah. I think when I tried making a warlock, and I think when I dragged the Eldritch Blast onto the character sheet, it was also broken. So you might have to just fill it in manually, but it would be a D20. It would be a D20 plus your charisma plus your proficiency, I believe, for the spell attack roll.
Okay. Charisma and
Proficiency.
Proficiency plus 4, plus 7 in that case.
A 25 is a hit. And I can't remember if Eldritch Blast adds your charisma modifier to the damage. I think you have to take.
If you have agonizing blast,
yeah,
I
so
think.
just a D10 then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. I do have agonizing blast.
Then D10 plus your charisma.
Yeah.
Oh, and hold person, she can make saves at the end of her turn to get out of it, but nice, 13. You hear kind of through her paralysis scream out in pain as your blast strikes her high in her back. The tribal warrior makes an attack at you when you moved away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he kind of sees this as his opportunity to get the fuck out of here, and he starts running 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 towards these open gates here that have been kind of broken off their hinges.
Mm-hmm.
And Scout makes a wisdom save to try and break the paralysis, and she does. And she had been, when you cast your hold person on her, she had been reaching up towards the wall to pull herself up and over. She pulls herself up and over, and she jumps off, but it's about a 15-foot drop on the other side. And just because she was so afraid, she takes it anyways, and she takes 3 falling damage, which was how much HP she had left.
Oh my god!
So you hear her scream, and you can kind of hear her legs.
The Wilhelm scream.
You can kind of hear her legs snap and break. So she's not dead. She's just unconscious on the other side of the wall.
Okay.
Yeah. With a broken leg.
Um. Oh wait. The necrotic damage gets also added to the Eldritch Blast, right?
Oh, yep. So it would have killed her. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So she kind of go. Well, yeah. She actually never would have. She would just kind of.
I mean, we can still make her jump off the wall because it's hilarious.
Okay, yeah. So she's kind of like, she's kind of was climbing over the wall, and she's at the last second she like looks towards you before she decides to jump, and you raise your hand and fire your Eldritch Blast, and it kind of just hits her right in her back, and some of the skin and armor dissolves away where it strikes her, and she tumbles over the wall, and you feel the force of her, not her soul, but the force of her life enter your blade, and another half soul you gain.
Nice.
And now the tribal warrior is trying to flee. So he moves another 15, 20, 25, 30. And you're up again.
Can I see through this part? Wait.
Yeah, there's
okay.
kind of a where the walls crumbled away there. Yeah, you can squeeze through. You could even dash if you wanted to, or you could go 30 and try and Eldritch Blast him as well.
When I dash, how far can I dash?
You can move 60 feet on a dash.
Oh, okay.
But it takes your action. Because you're not a rogue anymore.
I want to do that and get right in front of him.
Okay. So you kind of dash and you almost knock him down with your momentum as you blow past him, and you stop him dead in his tracks, and his eyes kind of dart around, and he's got his spear in his hand still, and he just panicked kind of stabs it out at you, and 21?
Yeah, that hits.
He manages to find an exposed piece between the plates of your armor, and you take 4 piercing damage.
And
you're up again.
Yeah, attack with the greatsword.
15. Is a hit. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, neat.
And how does Eva kill this last guy? Remember, she hasn't eaten for weeks or maybe even a whole month, and she's totally consumed by her hunger, and now she's just getting the first taste of life in some time.
Well, we can have some fun with that. I mean, cut off the right arm, cut off the left arm, kick him to the ground, cut off his legs, and then just stab it in the face.
I almost imagine like when she's so crazed with hunger, and when she's done feasting, you wake up and you feel like warmth on the rim of your mouth, and it's almost like she got down and kind of started drinking its blood.
Yeah.
You have like blood dripping down, your chin onto your armor, and you get another half soul, so two souls total, and now you're here in the ruined palace alone now. You kind of come to your senses. You're kneeling on the ground, basically. Your sword's set down beside you, and you kind of come back to your senses, and you've got your face like in a pool of this guy's blood. And like you probably just when you come back to your own self, you probably start like dry heaving and spitting out the blood in your mouth, and
yeah.
And now you're here in the ruin, alone in the rain and in the dark under this heaving dark cloud. And now I'm gonna take a 5-minute break before the actual game starts. Welcome to Chult.
Yay! Thank you.
you can hit up the general channel now if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.